Oh, yes, indeed. Danny Noonan, Michael O'Keefe. We are doing a podcast, and it is Quiet Please, the golf podcast. I'm Alan DePew. I'm your host, and as always, my panel of industry experts. I am joined by on my left by Little Linksters founder and noted author Brendan Elliott. Hello,
Good
Brendan.
evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Wearing his Patriots attire, smoothest swinging in golf, Mr. Andy Hydorn.
Nice to be here, gentlemen.
We call him Christian. You call him the prettiest podcaster in golf. Christian Nazamus. Good to see you again, sir.
Always good to see you, boys.
And he was Boston Bob, but now he's Bourbon Bob since he's moved to Kentucky. Bob Baldessari, how are you, sir?
Always a pleasure to be with our team here. And
you have a special guest. You brought along a special guest today.
A very special guest. We may the over-under on how many drops we do Wicked may be at 52 tonight because we always have me and Andy from Massachusetts, New England, but we were very, very, very. I mean, the timing's amazing, and we'll get into that. But we're joined by Mark Bradley. You may know that last name Bradley in golf circles. Mark's a life member of the PGA of America, former head pro Jackson Hole golf and tennis. Esteemed member of the PGA, has done a lot in the PGA. Sister Pat Bradley, Hall of Famer golfer. Son Keegan, pretty darn good stick, who just happened to win a big tournament on the tour. So yeah, Mark, I'm sorry, Mark, we are wicked excited to have you join us.
Yeah, it's not mock, it's Maki.
Maki.
You know? That's a Massachusetts thing.
Yeah. That's right, kid. So we could drop some good New England slang, but seriously.
I guarantee you're going to park the car many times tonight. And but I got to ask the question. Mark,
yes.
As a former PGA golf pro myself, you are probably the one guy that gets the inevitable question, do you know Tiger? And can literally say you do.
Yes.
You know, I don't. I've met him a couple of times, and I remember the first time I met him. You know, it's like one of those things, and we were at Kiowa for the PGA back in, what was it, 2013? No, 2012.
2012, yep.
And there was something, and Tiger was at his car, and I was walking with Keegan, and Keegan said, "Dad, come on over." So we went over and shook Tiger's hand, and he was very gracious and very nice. But they were paired together in the first two rounds, and I can tell you, Keegan's second year on tour, and he tees off at Kiowa. I think it was the 10th hole, first day. He's walking down the fairway with Tiger. It was amazing. I was very proud of him. And you know, when Bob was announcing, when he was introducing me, and Keegan had just won the Travelers, dude, I got a little emotional. I was sitting there, you know, there's certain things that will trigger these emotions. Sometimes it's just, okay, he won and it's wonderful and it's great. But then certain people, certain things say it and it feels different. It's a very special time and the family's life, but certainly Keegan's.
Especially that tournament, Mark. I mean, being up in New England, Keegan from New England, you know, the history, I mean, that makes it even extra special. He mentioned it in the interview.
Yeah, you know, usually I go to this event. I've gone like every year. And so this year I went to the US Open at the LA Country Club. And, you know, it was tough viewing and it was this and it was that. I'd love to see that golf course without scoreboards and bleachers and all that other stuff because it's beautiful. But Keegan didn't have his best stuff. And I just said, you know, I'm not traveling from LA back to Hartford. I'll tell you, I really enjoy sitting at home. And, you know, PGAtour.com has amazing stuff. Tourcast 3D. I can follow every shot he hits, play by play, one-dimensional situations where they show his position, you know, on certain holes. But then you go to Tourcast 3D, you can zoom in, you can,
cool.
You know, because the the one-dimensional one, they say he's in the rough, but Tourcast 3D, you can go and say, yeah, he's in the rough, but there's trees. And then you can zero in and get in there and go, oh, I think he has a shot. So that's what I'll be doing for the next, hopefully, 4 days. He goes off early tomorrow, and I follow every shot, and I have in his 13 years on tour, every shot. And I bet there's times when I've actually been sitting on a chairlift that I'm looking at right outside my window here in Jackson Hole. And in today's technology, you know, when my sister Pat played on the LPGA tour, I had to hope that maybe there was a box score in the Boston Globe that said, you know, how everything went. I'd call the pro shop, how'd she do, you know, because they didn't have it today. Now I'm zooming in on a 3D golf shot, and I can follow them when I'm sitting on a chairlift, but or out on the golf course. But I like to be home and really, you know, focus and zero in and no interruptions and follow every shot he hits. And then when he's a featured group, ESPN Plus, Golf Channel, this and that, that makes it extra special because I can see him on TV, and I'm sitting here in northwestern Wyoming, and I've been doing it for a long time now. Even when he was in college and playing in AJGA events and this and that, I could at least follow his scorecard. But now you can follow everything. So it's pretty cool.
Mark, I wanted to start. I was there at the PGA when he won, so that was my introduction to Keegan.
Oh, cool, man. I was
But
there.
for you, you know, you've been with him obviously along this whole journey and this whole ride with all the ups and downs. Was this past weekend one of the most special? I mean, he kind of alluded to that, but what for you has been the most special?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brendan, because I posted on Facebook, you know, as humbly as I can, that he won, you know, some picture that's out there. And I just said, all I said was, in my opinion, this is his finest victory. Thank you for all your support. And then people would comment on it and they would say, well, wait a minute, he won the PGA championship. And then I responded back and I said, yes, that perhaps was his greatest victory. But this one last week was his finest. Yeah. And I think this, you know, you guys get it. It was his finest. Considering everything, it was his finest victory with everybody there and just at home. I just think it's his finest victory. And I know that he feels really good about what happened and what he did. And, you know, I'm so proud of him. So this is his finest victory. That's what I'll say.
Awesome.
So Mark, I have a question for you, and it's, I think we all experience this to a degree, but you, I'm sure, experience this to the highest degree, which is how difficult it is to watch somebody else play a round of golf, a crucial round of golf, when you're just on pins and needles, hoping that everything works out great. And it's just so seemingly hard to watch from afar. So if you could kind of describe those feelings a little bit as you're watching.
Yeah. This is the most anxious I've ever been watching him play. You know, you get 6-shot lead with 6 holes to play or whatever it was. And, you know, you start thinking when the bogey started to happen. I just said when he was on the 13th tee in Cromwell, I said, Keegan, hit it in the fairway, to myself. Hit it in the fairway. This thing's over. And he rinses. He hits it in the lake. I thought he made a good 6, actually. But then, you know, he had a bad break. He had a bad shot into 14, and it rolled back into a ball pitch mark. And you saw when he putted it, it came popping out of there and came up short. So another bogey. And, you know, you start thinking, especially as a dad, you know, you want him to win so badly. And then you start thinking, I'm going to tell you, you start thinking that if he loses this, it's going to be devastating to his career and to himself and his mind and just, you know, and, but if he wins it, it's going to be the biggest thing that he's ever done with a golf club in his hand, and he won it. And I could see the moment that he knew he won it. It's after that tee ball on 17. You've been there, you've seen it. I mean, it is a sliver of a fairway, and you miss it left, you're on the hillside, you're in the bunkers, and you miss it right, you rinse. And so for him to stripe it down the middle like he did on 17 after bogey in 16, and then he said it in the press conference, it's the best shot I ever hit in his life. The best shot I ever hit in his life. And, when he won the PGA, he triple bogeyed the 15th hole.
Yep.
And he's lost the lead. And then he stepped up on the 16th tee, which he eventually birdied. And he hit a tee ball there that he said was, at that time, the best shot he'd ever hit in his life. Because, again, they're coming during times of stress and bogeys and triple bogeys and you name it. And so he said, I know it's kind of weird that a drive is considered the best shot you ever hit in your life. But in those two circumstances, it was indeed. And I know I'm sitting there watching this thing and going, Keegan, just hit this down. And he striped. And, he striped it with a 3-wood. I was able to walk inside the ropes with Keegan at LA Country Club on Wednesday of the Pro-Am. Not Pro-Am, the practice round. And all of a sudden, he's looking at the face of this 3-wood, his favorite club in the bag. It's cracked. So now I got to grab a 3-wood out of his, he brought an extra. But you wonder, it's not the same. Even mentally, you're going, is it the exact same shaft and all this other stuff? But I'll tell you, he used that 3-wood or whatever 3-wood he found after he cracked the face on the one at the practice round at LACC and hit, what he said is the best shot he's ever hit in his life. And I'm telling you, I believe that too, because, he doubled that hole in 219 when he was one back from Ches Reavie. He doubled it. He hit it in the fairway bunker and bladed it over the green and chipped it up and 3-whacked it. So I've been doing this for a long time, boys. I've been following Keegan every shot. Scorecards during AJGA and D1 golf. It's been going on for a long time. And because of that, I'm pretty level. I stay pretty level through all this other stuff. I mean, he'll have a bad shot or this and that, and I'm cool with it because I know golf. It's hard, but not this time. When he bogeyed 16 and he had to face that tee shot in 17, I felt it in my chest. I felt it. I was sitting there going, "Oh my gosh!" My heart was beating. It really was. It was beating.
With you saying that, Mark, you were gracious you've been gracious with me for several things, but we did an article last year on PGA.com about the dynamic of you being a PGA professional and
Right.
Keegan playing the tour. And I did one with JT and his dad. And if you could go a little bit into that dynamic of, it's a fine line. And I see that with kids I coach and with the parents of
Right.
being a parent and doing what a parent needs to be and also being someone for you that's in the business. What's that dynamic? Well, how's that been for you as he's grown up and now that, the last 13 years on tour?
I guess the best way to answer that, Brandon, is I grew up with a father who was, he was tough. He was tough. And if you went to a ski race or a golf tournament and didn't come home with a piece of hardware, he was not happy. And it even got to the point with my sister Pat, where he wasn't allowed to come to the golf tournament and watch her play. Because she'd look over if she messed up and he'd be kicking a pine cone or she could tell with the head down and all this other stuff. So when my kids came along, I said, I ain't doing it that way. I'm just not. And so, for instance, my daughter had no real interest in playing golf. If it was my dad, that's you're playing. And, with So with my son, when he showed this incredible interest in the game and everything, I went, okay, that's great. Let's work this thing and let's have fun with it. And it never dawned on me, and that I'm blessed with this. It never dawned on me to get mad if he hit a bad shot. It doesn't. It's not like, how the heck could you do? No. And so I was lucky with that way. So he, because of that, I'm always welcome at the golf course to watch him play. And I can tell you that there's even times, and I do it all the time, if I'm there and I'm walking outside the ropes and he makes a double or he has a bad shot, I purposely make sure that my shoulders are back, my head's up, and I'm walking down the side here. So if he does glance over, I don't have my head down. I'm not kicking any pine cones. And, but then he goes to the US Open, doesn't play well, misses the cut. I decide not to go. He wins. I don't know when I'm going back, because I don't care. I mean, I really don't. I just care that obviously I care. What I'm saying is I don't care if I'm there or not. I'd love to be there when he wins. But if it doesn't happen, what I experienced sitting here by myself, watching him win, standing in front of the TV and raising my arms in the air like he did when he made the putt, I didn't scream or yell. There's no one here to hear. I just, bang, he did it. And that was, like I said, his finest victory to date.
Christian.
That's awesome. I kind of a two-part question for you, Mark. What is your best golf experience with Keegan, either at an event growing up? What is your best golf experience with him? And then a second part to that is, what's your favorite course been that you've been to since he's been on tour?
Yeah, boy, there's been so many.
It's a tough question. I know there's probably a ton.
One of them, no. It's great because a lot of them when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
And, he comes to work with me every day at the golf shop. And, let's go. Let's jump on the cart and go out and play or do whatever. And that was the thing that was amazing when he was a little kid, I'm talking 5-6 years old. He started coming to work with me. And we used to do this thing where, you guys know, as guys who've been club pros and on all this other stuff, you got to be there. First tee time 7, you got to be there at 6. And kids, Brendan, this, they need their rest. They need their rest. So Keegan, just one time I left him, it's like for the school bus, I'm going, get up, you got to go, we got to get to work. And I left him, and his mother drove him over to the golf course, and he was upset with me. He had the lower lip. I looked at him, I said, Keegan, you can't be late. And I'll tell you one place you can't be late. It's on the first tee of a golf tournament. So what I did was, now when I said, I'm leaving Keegan, I'd hear his feet hit the floor. And we get in the car and we drove over there. Now it's 6 o'clock in the morning. So I had a blanket and a pillow, and I'd put the seat back and I'd say, okay, man, get your rest. And he'd sleep for another couple of hours. And then he'd come in the shop and I go, okay, go pick the range. Go pick the range. And, but he never, he's the kid, he's the club pro's son. He's there and he's young and this and that. And he never did anything to get the old man in trouble. And, people are looking for that. And he was just perfect. And he practiced, played. And, he picked the range.
Bobby, before we come to you, because I know you got one, is, Mark, I need that job that we're 7 a.m. first tee time. We're going off at daybreak, man.
Yeah. No, that was Vermont, so it was probably cold and too dark in the morning. Yeah.
Hey, Mark. Yeah.
So what was the follow-up with Christian? You were saying
favorite golf course.
It was the favorite. One of the favorite. You don't have to give. I know there's so many, but
I would say, oh my gosh, now I'm having a blank. Where'd they play the PGA this past?
Oak Hill.
Oak Hill. I'd say Oak Hill. I really will. I love Torrey. I love Riv, and I love the West Coast swing. And those are the ones that I go to every year. And I drive. You know, I like it. I like a road trip, drive through the desert, get down into San Diego. But I like Torrey, I like Riv, and I like Oak Hill. And, you know, of course, I love Augusta. I mean, it's amazing. But, you know, just those others, it's my favorite. And Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis Club.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know, so here's the thing, you know, I'd lived here in Jackson Hole from 73 to like 83. And then I went back east with Keegan's wonderful mother. And that's when I turned pro. I turned pro after I came back from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And then 18 years ago, a friend of mine calls me on the phone and he goes, you know, he's in Jackson. Excuse me. And he said that his neighbor has a for sale sign out in front of his house, and he's the head professional at Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis Club. And I was going out there to go skiing in March and do my road trip. I said, find out what that means. He calls me back an hour later. He said he's taking a job in Montana. They're looking for a head pro. I called the general manager, yada, yada, yada. And the next thing you know, I got offered the job as the head pro there. And I've been back in Jackson Hole for 18 years now. And Keegan spent 3 summers here during college, you know, working in the shop 1 year. And then the next 2 years, I said, Keegan, you know, you don't have to work in the shop. I'll cover you as long as, you know, you work on your game. And I knew that wasn't an issue because that's all he's done since a little boy. And I never had to give him any real money because he was playing all the, you know, the money games and stuff, you know, around the valley. And I said, Keegan, how you doing for money? And he goes, I'm good, Dad. I'm good. But, you know, and again, I hope the people listening and that you guys listen, I'm saying this as humbly as I possibly can. And it's public knowledge, you know, how much a person has won on the PGA Tour. But he drove out of the Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis Club about 14 years ago. He had a Honda Civic, old Honda, whatever it was. And I said, how's your car running? Because he's taken off now. He's going to see if he can make it a go as a professional golfer. And how's the car? He goes, it's good, Dad. And so I took it for a test ride. I take it over to my mechanic. And he goes, where's he going? Well, he's heading to Florida, and he's going to try his hand as a professional golfer. And he looks at me and he goes, he won't make it out of Wyoming.
Jeez.
That's it. He won't make it out of Wyoming. So I go down to my friend who's at the car dealership, T-Town Motors here in town. I said, dude, I need something feet for my son. So I bought a $3,000 Ford Focus with a $180 on it. And he pulled out of that driveway at Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis Club with a few grand in his back pocket. We're both in tears, you know, and off he drives. And again, this is the part of I don't want people to think I'm bragging. He's won over $40 million.
So great.
You can't make it up.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah,
you can get a brand new Ford Focus now.
Yeah,
he's got a brand new Tesla something going on. Yeah, and you know he lives in what I call the Scarface Mansion, and he just bought a place in Newburyport, Massachusetts.
Oh wow,
great
He bought
spot.
a place up there, and his family is spending summers in Newburyport. He's playing out of the Golf Club of New England, you know, just for the summer months and traveling, and then he'll go back because primary residence is Palm Beach Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, Mark, with Keegan's resurgence this last year, he's climbing up. He's right up there in the Ryder Cup mix. I was there at Medina when he was going at it with him and Phil, and he was thriving in that pressure cooker of the Ryder Cup. I mean, you've been there. It's unlike anything. And then your sister Pat, World Golf Hall of Famer, major champion. I mean,
right.
Is there something in the Bradley DNA that thrives on just being in the moment in the big arena with the pressure on? I mean, it's just really neat to see Keegan. He embraces it. I mean, was it just there for him, or anything you did along the way?
Hey, Mark.
Well, I'll start by saying
Mark,
it's.
if I can interrupt again, because this is our rule here. I get to
I love it.
2 weeks in a row, Bobby. I got my question loaded, and 2 weeks in a row,
he got you
right before I ask it. Just throwing it out there, Bob. Just throwing it out there.
Well, whatever it is he has and Pat has, it skipped me. But I'll tell you, I can ski. Oh, I'm a good skier. That's kind of my thing. But anyway, yeah, I think some of that resilience comes from his Aunt Pat. You know, she's tough. She's she's gonna play hard right to the end. Never quit. And Keegan saw that in her. And he said it the other day. He said, growing up, his heroes were in the LPGA. And, he mentioned Dottie Pepper. And because he went to Stratton when she won there. And she said, of course, my hero is his Aunt Pat. But he's just got a mental toughness. And I hope because of the way his mother and I raised him, he was never felt like the pressure maybe that I felt and Pat felt with my dad. And, again, my dad and I had a great relationship to the end of his time. And we didn't always, but I'm just saying, I just went, I'm going to do it differently. And, my father did it his way, and Pat's a 6-time major champion. I did it my way, and we got what we have. And I like it much better because I do feel comfortable when I go to these events. He's just tough. And by the way, it's not like he had anything handed to him. He's not. We're sitting there scraping up the money to, send him to tournaments and do this and do that. And he knew it. He knew.
We're in the golf business. We know what you mean.
Yeah. We got you.
Yeah. So that's, and here's the thing. I'm in the golf business. I've always been seasonally employed. Yeah. I've been a golf professional for 5 months, 6 months, a ski instructor for 4 months, for 20-something years. And, so Keegan knew that we were sacrificing a lot of stuff so that he could be out there. And it was always just it was going to be fun, but, don't fool around here. Get out there and do your thing. And he did. It's interesting. And you guys will dig this because you teach. I had a lesson today with a young lady that I had a couple of years ago. And her father still kept my phone number. And he got a hold of me and he said, I would love my daughter to come back and have a lesson with you. So it was this morning. So I met up with the young lady, and the first thing I saw, and I'm curious how you feel about this, Brendan. The first thing I saw was she just had a horrible, horrible grip. And so I just thought back to Keegan. People say, what was it you said to him that helped him get to where he's at? Well, lately, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying you need to tuck your shirt in, that kind of stuff. Okay. But I will say that my answer to that is, what did you do? What did you say? When he was very young, I said, we got to change that. Oh, I hate it, Dad. I can't, it feels like, no, we got to do this. And, it's the Hogan question mark, and, put it in the fingers, and a little trigger's okay, interlock, all that stuff. And she hated it, this student I had today, but I took her out on the golf course for a few holes, and she hit it so well. And I said, how's that grip feel? And she goes, feels fine now. I said, see, it doesn't take that long. So, I gave him a good grip and a far away look. That's it. And look where we're at.
Yeah, the grip's primary, as you guys know that teach. And it's the only connection to the club. And that's one of the first things that you got to get a kid to understand is, as difficult as it may be to change that, it's of primary importance. So what I tell a lot of my kids is, this is going to be difficult, especially if you're somebody with that right hand.
That's what I said to her today.
But the easy thing is to just hold the club while you're watching TV. When you're sitting there watching TV for an hour,
There
make
you
sure
go.
the face is square and just hold it the right way. And like you said, Mark, it'll become second nature before you know it.
She felt that way at the end of the lesson. And I told her before I started changing it around, I said, you're going to hate this. And then when she had it on the grip, I said, don't let go. Don't let go. And as a matter of fact, I want you to drive home with your dad with that grip,
Right.
just to get it in. And she hit it well, and it was really fun. And then it was great. I got a nice text back from her dad. And she said that he said that my daughter loved you. She had so much fun, but yet, let's get the grip. Get the grip. And it's hard with kids. There's so much else to do. But I'm a big proponent. I've had a junior program here at Jacksonville Golf and Tennis Club. You know, COVID kind of nipped it. It's cut down attendance, and it interrupted it because I've been going for like 15, 16 years. And I'm not this year going to be as involved as much. If they need me, that's fine. But there's some nice young kids in the pro shop, assistant professionals, who will do a great job with these kids. And, you know, they need to supplement their income a little bit with some lesson activity. And it's a good place to use the juniors. But my big thing was that I went to management and I went to the superintendent to see if it was possible. And for 15 years, every Wednesday, he rearranged his maintenance schedule so that we could tee off on 10. You know, the members hadn't come through yet. And I'd have, say, 15 to 20 kids, and we'd have 3 or 4 foursomes, play a scramble, and I'd had 2 other assistants with the other 2 groups, and coach them as you go, and play, and put it in the hole. You know, create a like for the sport, and then and only then will it maybe translate into love of the sport. And I've seen it happen.
Hey, Mark, quick, go back to or something you were touched on earlier, because as Brendan likes to joke, I'm the guy that I stock social media for the show and everything. And
right.
I saw a couple. Well, first comment would be, my own son played. He was a goalie, ice hockey goalie. You want to be left.
Awesome.
You want to be left out in the pressure cooker. Be an ice hockey goalie. But I had a coach tell me one time. He's like, "Look," he goes, "whenever he looks at you, just give him a thumbs up. You might be just eating it inside, but give him a thumbs up."
So
my question for Keegan is, you saw on social media, you know, he's playing mini golf with his son.
Yep. Love it.
And then a week later, and God bless, because I love it, he's drinking a Sam Adams from a Wicked trophy, right, Bobby?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
What makes that switch in just 1 week like that?
I've said to him, you know, so many times in his life, Alan, you know, after a tough week, and I'd say to him, it can all change in a week. It can all change. And I think especially in golf. And so this week is a case in point. He misses the cut. He's beating it at the US Open. It's just because he was playing bad. He goes, "Dad, I'm concerned. I'm not swinging well," and yada, yada. So I just, what was my point in bringing this all up? Just keep it positive, and kind of lost my train of thought there, but
I mean, that's why there's 18 holes. That's why there's 72 holes. You know,
exactly.
I was playing college golf, college tournaments, going back to what Alan said too about family watching. I remember seeing my parents watch all the college tournaments and never miss a day. And they loved it. It was their favorite thing to do. Yes. And you know, they would know that if I was having a bad day, bad round, yeah, your body language is down, you know, you're down in the dumps, whatever. But I always remember that they always had a positive mood towards me. Like, yeah, my mom may have not watched every shot because she was nervous or didn't want to like have me miss a par putt for 5 feet to say come in whatever place. But
then you can go to the next game, have a great round,
100%.
and change in a heartbeat. And I've said it to Keegan. You know, he has a bad week. Keegan, when he was younger, Keegan, it's a blip on the screen. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It can all change in a week. These different things you say along the way. And, you know, here he misses the cut at the US Open, comes out next week and shoots 23 under. and wins, a very important tournament for everybody. I mean, it's a 70-year history of that tournament.
Yeah.
And he wins his home turf. And people go, well, he's not from there. I heard all this stuff with Amanda Balionis was getting hammered because she said this was a hometown event. Well, it's New England.
Right.
New England Patriots. Hello. And he grew up, just up the road a couple of hours and played a lot of golf in the New England area. And, but, he was really struggling after the anchor ban. And then he won at Aronimink, the playoff event in 2018. I remember Johnny Miller got emotional when he was talking about Keegan's victory because he's been following. He saw when Keegan was 197th in putting, 185th, 178 for 5 years. That's going 5 years with making nothing. And then he wins Aronimink. It all changed in a week. Yep. And then it goes on. He's doing well, a little sort of dip. And then he goes out and wins Zozo, changed in a week. And then we had a couple of last month hasn't been great. He's had some low rounds followed by high round, Memorial, and yada, yada. And then he wins. And it changed in a week. And this time, I think it's changed even more than ever because people really loved the family, connection with his boys and with Jillian. And he's an emotional guy. And people felt it. And I remember when I went to the 214 Ryder Cup at Medina, and I'm new at this too, really. And I remember walking inside the ropes down the fairway. He's playing with Phil. And on one side of the fairway, there's 10,000 or 20,000 people. And they're yelling, Keegan. And on the other side of the fairway, there's another 20,000 people. And they're going, Bradley. And all the way down the fairway, so loud, Keegan, Bradley. And he heard it again at the Travelers, because when he was coming down 18, they were screaming that. And, it just made him feel so good. The tournament people said they'd never heard such a reception coming down 18. So,
Mark, let me ask you this, because before we got on the air, I looked at a article that was on PGAtour.com about JT's wife texted him and told him that he has to. Yeah. And so for me, and I know it's cliche, but I say this to my students all the time. I don't care what level of a golfer you are. If you don't love it. And so my point to that is, do you think some of these turnarounds we've seen from Jordan, from Ricky recently, from Justin in Keegan, do you think it comes back to that?
I do. And I read that article and I thought what she said was brilliant, and it was perfect. You could, embrace what you love about the game. You got to do it because we all know we've all just had brain damage out there. We've all been so frustrated and we've grind away and I think that's one of Keegan's strengths. He grinds. He never quits. Even if he's way over, if he's got 2 holes to play, he's going to play them the best he can play it. There's no quit. And I mean, certainly over those 5 years when he's 178 and putting, I think about that because there was an article about it and I remember it. But when I look and see where he was in the strokes gained putting stat, how did he do it? And one of the ways he did it is tee to green game was elite.
Yeah.
And then when the putting started to improve, Phil Kenyon, aim point, I know it's tedious, but it's helping him. And a lot of guys are using it. Because when he went to Stockton, when he went to Utley, and then when he went to Phil Kenyon, all 3 of them said, there's nothing wrong with your stroke.
Right.
And Phil Kenyon said that to him. He said, he panicked. He goes, well, then what can I do if there's nothing wrong with my stroke? And the guy said, your alignment, and you don't know you're not reading greens properly. So this is a real thing that he's got going on here. It isn't just, getting lucky or having a good day and then he's more consistent. And it's Kenyon and this whole system that he's got going. And now there's some confidence that's built up. And I think right now, because he told me years ago, he goes, Dad, if I can ever get into the top 50 strokes gained putting, I'm gonna do some damage out here. And now he is. And again, he's 5th in FedEx. 18th and OWGR. And that, we'd have taken that back in the wraparound beginning season there, you know?
Mark, were we able to touch a little bit on the so like talking about the Yankees and the Canadians, the LIV?
Yeah.
Did your on that?
Yeah, I know that they came and talked to him.
Yeah.
You know, Greg came to Keegan's house, and there was another fellow there with them just a couple of years ago now, and they showed him a PowerPoint thing, and it was, Keegan said, gee whiz, they've got some good ideas over here. And I'm so glad that he did not go to live. I'm so glad. If he'd have gone to live, he wouldn't have had what just happened. Right. Wouldn't have happened, you know. And so, you know, I don't know what's going on with, you know, the with the reorganization or this and that. I do know that it's made my son a lot of money. This whole dust up with everything that's going on. You know, I'm just so glad he didn't go. I'm so glad he stayed with the PGA. I do think, I know what he was offered to go and he turned it down. I do think, you know, they got to take a look at this and maybe compensate some of these guys. I think Keegan cares about that to a certain degree, but not really. I mean, he's just happy where he's at. And now, let's face it, I know it's a long way off, but he's going to want to play the Champions Tour when that comes around. And we'll see what they're doing about letting people back in that defected. And I hope that happens. I'd like to see LIV go away and just let's get back to DP World Tour, PGA Tour, and, you know, PIF. And that's one of the things that, well, I don't want to get too political with this, but Jimmy Dunn, who has been sort of and I've met the man. I met the man at Grove 23. He's putting this deal together, and he had a firm in one of the Twin Towers. He lost 65 members of his firm. Right. And he said, and this resonated with me. He said that if he felt anybody involved with PIF, the public investment funds from Saudi Arabia, was involved in the World Trade Center bomb, he said, quote unquote, I'll kill him myself. It's a pretty controversial thing for even me to say right now. But I'll tell you what, that's why, you know, let's just see how this thing plays out.
Right.
But I'd like to see it get back to the PGA Tour is running the organization. They're still a nonprofit. I'm telling you, I hope Jay's doing it. I hope Jay's okay. I hope he's going to get his health back, and I hope he comes stepping right in. He's got good people around him, Herlihy and Jimmy Dunn, and just go get this thing. And I think the guy from PIF, Ramayanan, I don't know how to say his name, but he seems like a reasonable guy. And, you know, I've been back and forth on it, but again, somebody's trying to call me here. You hear that on your?
No, we're all good.
Well, we're good. But I'll tell you what, we are coming to the 18th hole, and before we do, we always work in. We got to give this to Andy, because Andy saves up all week looking for that. Don't be that guy.
So truth be told, Mark kind of stole my thunder a little bit on "Don't be that guy," but and the point being that when Amanda Balionis was interviewing Keegan and, you know, referred to the Travelers as a hometown event.
Yeah.
And just Keegan's reaction to her question should have squashed anybody's questioning about whether it's a hometown event for him. I mean, Keegan went out of his way to say how important it was for him to win that event. And then all these idiot keyboard warriors on Twitter are going nuts.
It's terrible.
So,
you know, go ahead.
No, it's just that's the don't be
first
that guy
thing that he said when Amanda said, "What's it feel like and I'll get emotional even thinking this now. What's it feel like to win your hometown event? What's the first thing he said is, this is for all the juniors that live in the Northeast, that sit there all winter and watch other people play golf. That's what I said. Okay, end of discussion over here.
Yep.
And then people who were trolling about this, New England it's 6 states, and there's separate states and everything, but it's a region that everybody relates to and are proud to be from. And so it's, the New England had fit in Wyoming like 4 times. So it's just up the road is Woodstock, Vermont. But I just thought, I was so proud of Keegan to sit there and say, this is for all the juniors up here.
Yep.
And I thought that was a good answer. And Amanda's so great. And just people looking to cause trouble and say this and that. And some of the stuff you read and you look at these Twitter things, it's like, I've gotten thick-skinned over that too. And so is Keegan, but there's been a shift. And I told Keegan, I said, Keegan, with your play, your victory, your interviews, your interaction with your family, and all of that stuff, I said, man, you gained some fans this week, and not just in New England, but you gained some fans across the golf community. And he has, because he's a good kid. He's a Vermonter. And so, Vermonters are, they're an interesting group. They're just, they're Yankees, man.
Yes, we are.
They're Yanks. And so they're not going to be slapping you on the back and saying, hey, what are you doing over here? So, Keegan keeps things at an arm's length, and he's very private. And that's part of being a Vermonter. And
18th green, Bobby. Just because you stole my question, you got to go first.
Here we go.
Well, yeah, I actually want to start with
final thoughts, I should say.
Yeah, no, but Mark, I thought of myself as a kid with my dad as a PGA pro, growing up in New England at Hillview Country Club, and
which country club? Which one?
Hillview Country Club in North Reading. Nice. Yeah, and those winters that I would look at my clubs in my room and say, God, I wish I could play golf, and it's January and I'm watching the Bob Hope, and when he said that comment, I thought that was one of the neatest comments I've ever heard. I mean, that really stuck with me. But hey, I just want to say personal thank you for coming on. The stories were amazing. You're amazing, and everything you've done in golf is awesome. But I get caught up in your trout fishing when you post on Facebook. So those are pretty awesome photos. But we got to have you come back, because there's a lot of questions we still want to ask you, and a lot of stories you need to tell.
Anytime, boys. You guys are awesome. This was really fun and good questions, and I really enjoyed it.
Brendan,
thanks for pointing out Keegan's great victory.
Brendan, for you, final thoughts.
For my final thought, people love Keegan. I have a particular fondness for you and Keegan both. You guys stepped in at a time when our little organization had a major development. Someone stole our trailer with all of our $10,000 worth of equipment. And I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but I remember going to the P.O. box one day and seeing something from you guys, and it was a nice sized check to help us get back on our feet. Awesome. So I'll be forever indebted to you and your son for everything that you guys stand for. He's a humble kid coming out of St. John's. I mean, just watching the journey. I appreciate you and him very, very much. So thanks for coming on too.
Thank you, Brendan. Keep going with the Little Linksters, man. It's an awesome program.
Thank you.
Andy?
Yeah, so again, Mark stole my 18th hole thunder as well. But fair enough, though. But I just wanted to reiterate how awesome Keegan's interview was at the end, where he showed such love and compassion for his family, for his wife and his kids. And to me, that was a total, just absolute great thing to see. So I know you said it before, but to me, that I watched that and that hit me right here. So that was awesome.
It's hitting me right there right now, boys.
Yep.
It really is. It's and I can't wait. And again, I can't believe it. I'm sitting there going, okay, it's 7:25. I got to call the boys. And then I realize, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours difference. You think I know that now. So tomorrow he goes up at 7:30 in Detroit, 5:30 in the morning. I'll be there with my phone, and I'm going to watch follow every shot he hits.
Awesome.
Christian, young man, your final thought.
Yeah, I'm just gonna caveat what everybody said. Mark, thanks again so much for coming on. It's greatly appreciated. And you did one hell of a job raising Keegan. He's just absolutely incredible beyond belief. I've been a huge fan of Keegan ever since he won the PGA. I've been following him along. I watch him on YouTube. He's just an overall great person. I've never met him. I hope one day I can, but he's just one of those guys that you just want to be around. He makes everybody else around you I feel like in a good mood, in a better place. So hats off to you. And I'm really rooting for him, the rest of the season. So, going off of that too, guys, please continue. Anyone just to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're rapidly growing. We have so many great guests coming here in 2023. And just again, Mark, thanks for coming on this evening.
You're welcome, Christian. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mark,
Really.
I'll throw one to you also. Any final thought before I wrap it up?
Final thoughts. Yeah, I'm a very lucky guy. I live here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I have a great situation with my golf club, Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis Club. After my lesson today, I just drove out on the golf course with, 2 down, 5 strix-ons and hit some shots and just trying to get my game back because I've been traveling so much and I have a lot of visitors. So, and then on Monday, my buddy and I are heading up to Yellowstone National Park. Nice. I've got a fishing spot up there. And so I'm going to do that. And then as I look to my right here, I see the ski slopes that I ski on all winter long. And I can walk to the gondola. And so, I ski, I fly fish, I golf, and I live in a beautiful place, and I'm blessed, and I'm lucky, and I can't wait till 5:30 tomorrow morning, and waiting for him to tee off.
That's great stuff. I'm not going to actually be able to match. I know I can't match that, but I made a promise to somebody today. I'm going to go out off the rails here a little bit. 3 of my little juniors that are at the golf course, Preston, Emilio, and Jojo, all great young sticks, all great young men. They're all pursuing their dream. I told them I was giving them a shout out. So if they're still listening,
yeah,
they told me they're going to collab, and they threw all kinds of other young terms that I don't know. And if you're still listening, I'm buying pizza tomorrow. So there you go.
Nice. Well, all the best to your kids, and I hope that they just get them to the golf course.
Absolutely.
And have them chip and putt till the cows come home.
That's right.
Christian, hit it long and straight.
Because it beats you hitting it short and crooked.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.